Hey guys, how's it going? Zubay here and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about a recent article by Wired called "The World Needs Processed Food," and it's quite an interesting one because it talks about the point where how we actually often confuse ultra-processed food with just simply processed food. As a caveat, the article does sort of cover generally what is processed food, which basically is every single thing that we eat. Milk is processed when it is pasteurized straight from the farm to our fridge. Meat is processed to make sure that it actually lasts longer, to make sure there's no germs. So processing food is actually quite a standard norm in our lifestyle today. It is hard to escape from processed food just because we live in a world where we are able to enjoy food from one continent to another, and you just can't have I don't know, blueberries or yogurt which is made in say Europe and enjoyed in Asia without having a process. But the interesting part about this article is the fact that it is arguing that we can't survive a world with 8 billion people in it without processed food. So here's the thing. The article argues that you can't feed 8 billion people in the world without processed food, which makes a lot of sense if you think about it on a grand scheme of things. We live in a world where we are already pushing the limits of agriculture by increasing the amount of foods produced per square acres of farmland. To that end, that means that we also need to ensure that these food produced actually do contain the necessary nutrients, minerals, vitamins that we need crucially to survive. Processing food by combining these natural foods with certain additives or chemicals ensures that we actually get the right amount of nutrition as well as minerals and vitamins for our bodies to absorb and be healthy. If we rely on purely unprocessed food, we run into the risk of having our food supply expiring, not being nutritious enough, not made in such a durable way that it can be shipped from one area to another or stored for long periods of time, because processed food has been a huge boom for every country's food security. Food security is basically any country's ability to ensure that its citizen has enough food to eat. I mean, COVID sort of reignited the attention to ensure that every country is at least self-sustainable to a certain extent, where staples are actually available to feed everyone in the country. The article does distinguish processed food versus ultra-processed food. Ultra-processed food are actually not the same as processed food, where ultra-processed food generally contains less nutrients, less minerals, basically less healthy for all of us, but they are produced because they require the least amount of resources. I mean, a simple example of ultra-processed food would be chips. It's basically starch, lots of chemicals, carbs, and lots of flavoring, which may not be necessarily good for us. I mean, the problem with ultra-processed food is that they're not really good for your health. I mean, having too much sodium and salt is definitely not good for you. Having too much food that has processed fat or trans fat, that's bad for your heart. I mean, who knows what the chemicals that you consume actually does to your body. I mean, it is common wisdom that consuming too much ultra-processed food such as junk food, chips, instant noodles, instant coffee, things that are actually more processed than necessary aren't good for your health. Cancer, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, they mostly relate to what you eat. I mean, I watched this recent video about processed plant meat versus meat, and the narrator, which I'll link below to the video, actually mentioned an interesting point that ideally we should be consuming food that has as little components as possible, being as authentic, pure as possible. The more processed food, the more processed a certain kind of food is, the more kind of chemicals we throw in it, the less healthier it is for us. At the end of the day, it is about consuming food with the least amount of foreign or composite materials. It is all about consuming food that is as pure as it can be, but also achieving a balance where we produce food in a way that's healthy and conducive for the 8 billion people around the world, so that we actually stay healthy by consuming food with the right nutrients, the right ingredients, the right vitamins, the right minerals, but without the unnecessary chemicals, processing, composite materials, just because we want to, or just because the big industries want us to. Processed food is useful only if we use it the right way to feed the entire world. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you soon.